Howdy y'all, and welcome to Lac Lives. I think it's time we played a little Minecraft. So I've been working on cleaning out my outside area in preparation for our rebuild of the farm. My poor farm. And I finally got it cleaned out. And now I am working on a stand-in for the farmhouse, and it's kind of funny because I'm sort of having problems remembering what it looked like and where things were at, to be honest. I think it's starting to lay out the way I remember. And then I'm like, wait, was that the way it was when we moved, or was that the way it was when I was younger? I mean, I basically spent the first, what, 20, 30 years of my life in and out of that place. So, you'd think I'd be able to remember, but no, I can't remember anything. So this is what I've got so far. It's just a rough layout, just so I don't... That weather is so loud. Just so I don't get too confused when we actually get to the building part. Now, where did I leave off? I left off with this over here. I ran out of cobblestone. Who runs out of cobblestone? Sheesh. Okay. And then I think there was a doorway straight across here. And then, but yeah, it's gonna be a big build, I feel. It's gonna be kind of an experiment as well as I try to figure out, oops, I went too far, exactly how to do some of the things that are gonna need to be. What you're seeing is I've got cobble, and so cobble indicates walls, and dirt indicates other things, so that I make sure that it's laid out pretty close. It's not exact. I am running into some issues where things don't fit the way I think they need to, and I might be making some of these spots too small just because we're going to need extra room around them because of the way, you know, Minecraft goes together. But and I'm pretty sure I remember there being a step down on this section I'm working on right now, but I didn't put a step down in. And, you know, there's a good chance that all this is going to have to be raised up anyways when I go to do the floor below, because the floor below will have, will need more room for some of the things that it's going to do. But I think this should be fun. Now, I don't remember a window on that side, but I know there's a window on this side, and there's a window on this side. And I think the bed was here. I think, and then there was a couple of big dressers, maybe. Like that. And then I really don't remember. Maybe a crib? Maybe? And I think that's it. I think that is the farmhouse. What do you think? It looks spectacular, don't it? Ow. Let's find the front of this thing. Which part are you? No, you're not. You're not stoned all the way out down here, are you? 2, and then you come down to 1. So it actually needs to go across like so. The house is also, everything's going to have to raise it up higher because the house was actually not flat on the ground. It was, oh, you know what? There's a whole nother section of the house I haven't even done yet. Jeez. Okay. Oh, and then this is out to here because that's wall. And then we throw in the dirt because the window goes all the way through the wall, of course. That would be weird to have a window that doesn't go all the way through the wall. Windows. That's a door. Windows. That's gonna be weird. We can't have a windows. Oh man. This here is not big enough at all. But yeah, so this was kind of the shape of the house I grew up in. And this is the front of the house, right? What is this? Oh, yeah. No, this is the front of the house right here. And it faced out onto like a big tree, and there's a road that run through here. You know, I was gonna point this at the other road, looking out on the bay when I put it in. Why didn't I put it in over in that corner? Well, dang it. I was actually gonna put it out over here. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Well, now it's here. So this is where it's gonna stay. So let me take you on a tour of my home. Alright, here we go. So this is the front of the house. Like so. And oh man, I'm out of stuff. This here was a road, and so you would pull in the driveway, and there was a set of stairs up to what we called the front porch, and there's a door here and a door here, but we never came in and out that way really. Instead, what we would do is we would come in through the back door to the back porch. And this was our back porch. It was all glassed in. And there was no point that I remember it not being glassed in. And so this is where we would kick off our shoes in big piles. And then this is the part that's not done. This needs to become the stairway down into the basement. Which eventually we'll get to. And, you know, it's okay that it's right underneath these cobblestone that are supposed to be walls, because all this has got to raise up. Because we actually had a set of steps that you walked up to get into the back porch, and then there was a step up from the back porch into the kitchen. And when you came in the kitchen, we had a pretty good sized kitchen, but we had a lot of people. Like I've said, I grew up on a farm, and so there was one point we had 10 people living in this house. And, you know, so big kitchen table. I think I set this one up a little bigger maybe than it needs to be. I mean, it's just dirt right now. I haven't actually made the table. But strangely enough, the table that we used to use here, I actually have down here in the game room now with the leaves pulled out, and we use it to play board games on, and which is kind of funny. But you know, refrigerator, freezer, dishwasher, huge cabinet that ran the length of the one wall. This all got put in during we basically remodeled every room in this house, at least once during my stay here, and some of the rooms got remodeled a couple of times. I have really early memories of the kitchen being remodeled, and I remember them hanging the chandeliers that were in the kitchen, at least one of them. Um, and then we come into the living room, plunk, and uh, this is where some of the people spent most of their time. They'd be in here. Um, oh, that's what's missing from in here is, let's get that in there. And so, we have a couple of chairs and a couch and a television, big picture window that looked out on the front porch, the doorway out here to the front porch, which when I was a kid was open, and then after I graduated from high school, we glassed it in, and um, it was pretty nice after we got it glassed in. We never did much with it, but it kind of became the storage place for all of the remodeling stuff, and so we never really got to use it before we moved. But and then let's see, this was one of the bedrooms, and had a nice window looking out, a couple toward the road, and then toward the one of the yards, and then this was the big bedroom, and so it had some bookshelves and big dressers and stuff. And then this was another bedroom that by the time we moved had been changed into the laundry room, and so that's the washer and dryer there. There's some cabinets, I think, and then this was the bathroom. 10 people in the house, one bathroom. This is the only bathroom, and it was tiny. It was like the size of the tub, and then next to the tub was the sink, and then there was the toilet, and that was it. That's all the room you had in the bathroom. It was not that the bathrooms where we live now are really that big. We do have one big bathroom, and then two smaller ones. Nobody really uses the big bathroom, though. Everybody uses the smaller ones. It doesn't help that one of the smaller ones is on the first floor of the house, and the other smaller one has the stand-up shower. I'm not a big fan of tub showers, and I was using the one here until I slipped and fell and nearly killed myself. And, alright, so maybe I didn't nearly kill myself, but man, did I leave my ribs bruised. From about my hip to my armpit turned black. Stepped on the bar soap. Oh, I thought I was dead. Really did. But yeah, so that was the first floor, and we'll flesh this out, and then I'll talk about the different rooms. Maybe I'll have stories for each of the rooms. This actually was 2 rooms, apparently, and when I was a kid, there was, you could see the plaster and stuff where the rooms were separated, because it never got, oh, you know what? This was L-shaped when I was a kid, too. And the washer and dryer used to be back here. Apparently there was a stairway that led up to the room above here. But yeah, the house was like at least 90 years old, if not older. We found newspapers on the walls from the 1910s, and we knew part of the house was even older than that. And so that's why there's step up and step downs in the house, because it was built in 3 different sections. And so we also wound up with a L-shaped house. I mean, we didn't build it, of course, just remodeled everything. But yeah, so then we got the stairway off of the living room, which leads up to the stairway room, which was used as a bedroom. And I've pretty much had every bedroom in this house as my bedroom at some point or another, except that room. This was, when we, at the end, was the upstairs living room. This is where I had all my stuff. So this was the game room at the old house. It was on the upper floor. Now I'm on the basement, but and then this way uh, we had this was one big room, and we split it in two because my sister had cats, indoor cats, and they would get into her stuff in the daytime while nobody was there, and so we kind of put them in a little room during the day, and then when in the afternoons when people get home from work, then they'd open the doors and the cats would just go wherever. But in the day, this was kind of their kennel, um, and uh, and then this was her bedroom, uh, which used to run the whole length of the thing. But like I said, the cats were getting into everything. This here is the rabbit hutch. We had a pet rabbit as well. And then we got to step up here, and this used to be one big room. And then, oh crap. This is what happens when you don't fill the floors in. And so this room was an attic when I was a kid. And this is where they stored all sorts of stuff, most of which I have no idea. It's really strange how much stuff was in here and how much stuff just vanished between cleaning out the attic and moving. So I really don't know what happened to all the stuff. I mean, this was wall-to-wall stuff. And then when I graduated from high school, I took the money from my open house and paid for a lot of the materials that went into remodeling the attic, so I could have more workspace than what I had before. And so I built a little closet. Not that I used it to keep clothes or anything. It just became the closet where I stored my empty boxes and my Lego kits, my Godzilla movies, things like that. Wasn't necessarily as full as it could have been, and it did take me, I don't know if that ever actually got finished. That was something that I personally built later. It wasn't there when we first started. This was my desk next to the window, and my dresser, my exercise equipment. I was pretty heavy into weightlifting at one point in my life. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I did it. My bed. My bed should probably actually be bigger than that. I had a full-size bed. And then we lined the one end with bookshelves. I'm an avid reader, so it was full of books. We can talk about that here in a second. I'll talk about why I have such big bookshelves. And that was pretty much that. Oh, and then there was a crawl space that goes up here. I didn't put that in. That we added after we remodeled. And it ran all the way to this wall. And that's where a lot of the stuff that was stored in the attic went to. But yeah, so this is my new build plans right here. I know I'm going to build the ship, but I've worked so much on that ship. I've built it twice now, and it's still not done. And so I need a break. But yeah, so let's talk about books. So I have always been a voracious reader. And so when I was a kid, it's... It's actually pretty funny, but one of the my mother has a picture of me when I was about 3, reading a newspaper. I could read when I was 3, and I've been reading ever since. And so before I even went to kindergarten, I was reading some pretty major school books, actually. I remember in preschool, they had like a book fair where they were selling old books from the school, and we bought. I should probably put down some torches, keep stuff from spawning up here. We bought like fourth, fifth, sixth grade readers that were full of stories, and you get them like 10 books for a dime kind of thing. And so I remember getting all the books that had stories in them and reading them, which is pretty awesome, especially with those kinds of books because they have so many different kinds of stories in them that it gives you a good swath of books genres so that you can figure out what you like and what you don't like. And I can remember, I don't remember what it was called, but I remember one of them had a blue cover, and I still remember reading that one. And then so I loved reading, and so we had library cards, and we go to the library once a week and get a bunch of books and take them home and read them. And so TV, we had TV, of course. Well, not everybody has TV, so I guess there's no of course, but we had TV when I was a kid, but it was long enough ago that we didn't have a remote control. I mean, we had one, but it didn't work. Always needed batteries. And so we only had like 4 channels we could get because we didn't have cable or anything. We had an antenna outside the house, which would have been right about here. That went up like 40 feet. So it was taller than the house, and so we could get all the channels in the area. And when I was a kid, there really weren't that many channels, and over the years they added more and more broadcast channels in our area. I remember when like Fox started a channel in the area, and there was a Christian channel. What's that thing called? TCT, maybe, something like that. I remember when it started, and they started up. It was CW, well, now it's CW, and it was WB, and it was something else, and it was on a different channel altogether at one point, which is kind of funny, and we sort of got that one. Actually, we only sort of got Fox. There were certain times of the year where you couldn't even get our Fox channel to come in, which is really maddening because that's where Star Trek was. And so, I would never catch the beginnings of the season because during that time of year, we just did not pick it up, like the trees were in the way or something. I don't know. But, yeah. And so, on top of that, my dad was really into sports. And he only watched sports. And so if the TV was on and sports were on, our one TV, that's what it got tuned to. Now as I got older, of course, then we got our own TVs, and I didn't have to watch sports, and we got into games, and bought my first Nintendo, and and so we kind of moved away from the whole only watching sports things. But when I was a kid, that was it. TV's on, TV's probably on sports, or there's nothing on because back then, in the daytime, you had soap operas from about noon to 3 or 4, and then at 4 you might get something. That's usually when they started their afternoon dramas, like Quincy MD or Emmy, Quincy ME, or we used to have this afternoon movie, and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I was like 8 or 9 when Fox came out that they even had afternoon cartoons. When I was a kid, up until 8 or 9, the only time you got cartoons was on the weekend. And and only before noon. So you had to get up at like 6 in the morning to watch the cartoons from 6 to noon, and that was your entire batch of cartoons for the week. And then, when Fox came out, they showed afternoon cartoons and morning cartoons, and so then we got to watch cartoons. But before that, um, pretty much it was sports. Every day it seemed like there was some kind of sports something on. All right, maybe not, and then we have bedtimes too. I don't know what it is with the kids now with no bedtimes, but man, when I was a kid, you went to bed at 7 p.m. and it wasn't until I was probably 8 or 9 before we got 7:30 bedtime, and then it was junior high before I got 8:30 bedtime, and then when I got to high school, I didn't really have a bedtime. It was lights out at 10 probably, but yeah, I'd read under my covers with a flashlight or something. In fact, when I was in later high school, I just had television in my room, and I just watched television. They used to have these shows on at like 12:30 in the morning. I can't even remember what they were called. There was like one about a judge who got disgraced, and now he brings justice, kind of thing, and rides a motorcycle. I don't really remember what that one's called. And Highlander. I used to watch Highlander. Anyways, that's not anything about books. I really got off on a tangent there. So books. So the reason I have had such huge bookcases, I have them here now too. I built bookcases when we moved in for my books, and I honestly could build another set. I have books just kind of sitting in stacks again on the floor, which is what happened when we lived here. But so we built these bookcases that lined the walls. In fact, this is missing a block of bookcase there. And so what happened was going to the library all the time, and I read through like the entire young adult section of our library. And so I was looking for something to read, and this woman that we knew saw me looking through some of the books and putting them back, and she's like, well, you didn't like the book? I'm like, oh, well, I've already read that one. And she's like, well, have you thought about going in the adult section? Because I was like 11 or 12 at the time, and so I was like, well, no, it's the adult section. You don't go in the adult section. And she's like, no, this book right here is something you can probably read, and you just gotta get permission from your mom. So, I got my mom to sign so I could get an adult book card. It was an adult library card. I could check out books from the adult section. Woo. And so then I started reading The Sword of Shannara. I always want to call it The Sword of Truth. The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks, and that series. And I had never really read fantasy like that before, because that's not in the little kids section. We had things more like Johnny Quest. There's a book series that's like written in the 60s. It's like Johnny Quest. I think the character's name is like Jonathan Swift, maybe, or Johnny something, and I would assume somehow it's either a knockoff of Johnny Quest or Johnny Quest is a knockoff of it, one of the two, because they were so similar. And so that's what I had been reading, so I was really into science fiction kind of things. And so reading Sword of Shannara, which is fantasy, wizards and elves and trolls and stuff, I was just amazed, and it was so awesome. And I mean, I was playing Nintendo games at that point, and so I was really into RPGs and adventure games with elves and dragons, and I had no idea they had books like that. And so that was the start of my love of fantasy, I guess, was the Sword of Shannara, and books, anyways, not games, because and then oh man, we've like almost run out of time. Let's hurry up this story here. All I'm doing is run around in a circle telling a story. And so it was, I'm going to go in the nether while I'm talking here to go get some quartz, because we're going to need a lot of quartz for this build. Where's my nether portal? I'm almost done with this story anyway. So what happens is over the years, as I read more and more and more fantasy, I get to the point where I've read almost everything in our library's fantasy science fiction section. Science fiction and fantasy. And so, I mean, our library was not very big. It only had like one aisle of sci-fi fantasy, and the aisle was probably only about 15 feet long. And so I had burned through everything over the years, and it got bigger as the years went on. I mean, it was like two or three shelves by the time I quit going to the library. But what had happened was Robert Jordan had come out with the Wheel of Time series, and I absolutely loved it. And for the longest time, and not till just recently, Robert Jordan was my favorite author. I love the Wheel of Time series. And, I mean, yeah, I've read Tolkien and stuff, but Tolkien's a little dry for me. And I like the big, complex stories. And, oh, crap. Bad lava. And, so, if you never read Wheel of Time, it's kind of like... It's not as crazy, maybe, but it's a big epic fantasy series, and so they what happened was I'm reading through it, and when a new book comes out in a series, I don't really remember specifics of things I've read. I just remember the general flow of the story, and so when there's a huge gap between when books are released, I like to reread the previous books, which I know means that I've read The Wheel of Time book 1 like 14 times now. And so being a library, not everyone returns books when they're supposed to. And so when the new book came out for Robert Jordan, they had book 1, book 2, book 4, and then like book 5 was the new one, and I'm like, hey, when's book 3 coming back? And they're like, oh, it's overdue and the person hasn't returned it. And so I'm like, oh, well, how long do you think it's going to be? And they're like, well, we don't know, because we don't know when the person's going to return the book. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the next time our Wheel of Time book came out, they still didn't have book 3, and now they were missing book 5 as well. And I'm like, so book 3, is somebody got it checked out, or? And they're like, oh no, that book's been lost. And I'm like, when you gonna get a replacement? And they're like, oh, we probably won't replace it. And I'm like, what? And this is before they had like the library loan stuff where you can just get books from other libraries sent to your library. And so I was furious. And so what happened was, I had gotten a piece of junk mail for the science fiction book club. And in it, if you've ever joined a club like the Science Fiction Book Club, I like the Science Fiction Book Club. I was also a member of like Columbia House for a while, and Columbia House is, I don't even know if it's still in existence, but it was a terrible thing to be part of, and they were really annoying, and they are always sending you stuff that you didn't want and claiming that you didn't respond. But Science Fiction Book Club has been really awesome about it over the years, and I have spent hundreds of dollars at Science Fiction Book Club. And so what happened was they had their deal, sign up and get X amount of books for this much money, and you have to buy this many books over the next 2 years or something like that. And so I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of a deal. And so what they had was like the first 8 books of the Wheel of Time as a set. And so I was able to do that and have the books for myself. And so over the years, I have bought a lot of books. And so, you know, I have like all the Shannara books, and I have like all of Robin Hobb's books, and all of Jordan's books, and all of my favorite author now, Sanderson. I have all his books. Gene Wolfe, Stephen R. Donaldson, David Weber, Douglas Adams, Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Elizabeth Moon, Jack Campbell, John Ringo. You know, when you buy that many books, it adds up. And so I have to have huge bookcases. All right, so with that, I think I'm going to end our episode. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more mining here. And when we get back next time, we will start on one of the rooms. And so that's my plan, is to work on each room individually. The cobblestone and stuff that I've got put up is just a guesstimate on the size it's going to be. I want to get each room situated. Now, realizing that once I get one room done, that the other rooms are kind of going to fall into place because they're similar sizes, and or, you know, like they line up kind of thing. So I can't have rooms that line up in reality not line up in my build, because that's just going to make the other rooms not line up, and it'll just be all crazy. And then it won't be the house I grew up in. It'll just be some house I built in Minecraft. And so I think this will be fun. This will be the first real multi-layer walled build that I've attempted. I mean, I've done some others, but nothing to this extent. So it should be pretty cool. Like the restaurant in town is multi-layered inner and outer walls, but these are inner and outer, dang it, walls on the inner walls as well as the outer walls. So it's a little different. So, all right, click like if you like, subscribe to be sure and catch the next one. And hope you enjoyed my tour of my childhood home, and I will talk to you later.